Ban Ki-moon has probably one of the most difficult jobs in the world. As Secretary-General of the UN, he has to seek international concord on a range of thorny issues, such as climate change, immigration, development, world poverty, Iran's nuclear ambitions, and the ongoing Palestine-Israel conflict. Issues which would daunt a lesser man. Euronews caught up with him in Strasbourg and put him in the hot seat.
Mr. Secretary-General, welcome to Euronews. In the weeks ahead, climate change will be back on top of the international agenda. Do you agree with José Manuel Barroso that the Cancun summit in December will most probably fail in renewing the Kyoto Protocol on climate change? Why are these negotiations so painfully unsuccessful?
This is a matter of political will of member states. There is a high awareness in the international community that this climate change issue is a defining issue of our era. For that, there is no question about that. It may be the case that we may not be able to have a globally acceptable agreement, comprehensive binding agreement, but we have been making some tangible progress in deforestation and forest degradation and providing financial support, particularly fast start support for developing countries, technology, adaptation, and capacity building. On these 5 areas, we have to build upon so that we will have a much better progress when we go to South Africa next year. But we are doing our best to have as much progress as possible in Cancun.
Although economically necessary, immigration is more and more depicted in Europe as a social and political threat. Multiculturalism has even been branded recently as a failure by Angela Merkel. Do you perceive a trend to more nationalism in Europe, and does it worry you?
I know that there have been some controversy in some of the European countries over migrant workers and minorities. As far as the United Nations is concerned, as a Secretary General, we are urging all the member states to provide and to protect the full human rights of those people whose human rights might be discriminated and might not be fully protected. The United Nations has taken an initiative by convening International Forum of Migration for Development. We have a meeting already 3 times. We are going to continue this one. Now, the purpose of this meeting is that how we can use this migrating workers' contribution toward the very positive and favorable way of socio-economic development.
So in your view, the migration issue is not worse in Europe than in other continents?
This is a common phenomenon elsewhere. There is some tendency that people regard these migrant workers as the others. But if we are more generous enough and more inclusive, then they can be ours. And likewise, the people of our countries can also be regarded as the others in other countries. Therefore, social inclusion is very important. I believe in cultural diversity. I believe in mobility, and therefore, all this cultural diversity should be promoted and respected in a positive way.
In terms of solidarity worldwide, what do you expect from the G20 summit to be held in Seoul next month?
For the first time in G20's history, the leaders are going to take up the development agenda. While they will be discussing how to consolidate their financial situation, how to make austerity, but at the same time, they will discuss how the G20 leaders can provide the sense of hope and how they can deal with all extreme poverty issues, how they can deal with overall development issues, including climate change. That's a quite encouraging one.
The negotiations with Iran on the nuclear issue are about to resume in Vienna. Are the United Nations and the European Union on the same length of wave on the Iranian file and also on the nuclear non-proliferation in general?
I have discussed this matter with Lady Ashton. I'm encouraged that the talks have been moving toward a favorable direction. Whenever and wherever I've been meeting Iranian authorities, I have been urging them to return to dialogue and engage in negotiation with E3+3. And that seems to be happening soon in early November. As a Secretary General, I will spare no efforts to facilitate such negotiation process. And there is no other way but the dialogue through which we can resolve this issue in a peaceful manner.
What is your position about a more and more frequently heard proposal welcoming in the United Nations a new member, namely Palestine?
Now, the Palestine and Israel, they are engaging in peace talk process, even though over these settlement issues, this has been stalled. As a member of Quartet and as a Secretary General of the United Nations, I have been working very hard with the parties concerned, both Israel and Palestine, and also are the important members of Arab and also United States. We hope that this peace process will be resumed as soon as possible so that we will be able to realize the vision of two-state vision where Israel and Palestine can live side by side in peace and security. By then, we would be able to welcome Palestinians as a due member state of the United Nations.
Mr. Secretary General, thank you very much indeed.
It has been a great pleasure.